the work starts with some general chapters, general remarks. It then goes into a section with specific chapters by authors which review particular people's tribunals, and it concludes with some reflections upon this creature of international law and international civil society, and whether or not it is justified or whether it's an embarrassment and an ineffective instrument, as many critics of people's tribunals would say. People who are of a formalist bent will not have much time for people's tribunals, but those who are concerned with international human rights, with liberty, with unveiling justice, and with listening to voices will have time for people's tribunals, and I fall obviously enough into the latter class. The most important investigation that I was asked to perform was in relation to North Korea, and in that investigation I undertook that work on behalf of the Human Rights Council of the United Nations. I was appointed with two other very fine colleagues, Sonja Basurko of Serbia in the former Yugoslavia, an expert through the unhappy history of Serbia on genocide, which we did not find in the case of North Korea on the basis of the evidence presented to us and on the basis of the definition of genocide in the Genocide Convention. And Marzuki Darusman, who had been the former Attorney General and Prosecutor General of Indonesia, a man who was accomplished in walking the boards of criminal courts and knew all about how to prosecute and how to deal with serious, very serious crimes. And that inquiry had a great deal of assistance, excellent secretariat, and from the independent secretariat supplied essentially by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, but independent of it. And if I can say so, it produced a very powerful and indeed overwhelming case of grave crimes against humanity and other human rights violations in North Korea. Now, the sad thing is that because of the structures of the United Nations and the special position accorded to the P5 members, without which the United Nations would not have been founded, getting of action on the report of the Commission of Inquiry on North Korea has proved much more difficult than producing a very fine report. This is one of the problems with the formal machinery of investigation. You can have the best report in the world, and I think humbly that our report on North Korea, because it was based on a very new and different methodology, was a very powerful example of a good report of the formal kind. But you might then end up with no action because somebody with the power to do so will veto action in the Security Council that would involve sending the matter to the International Criminal Court. But one of the most important points made in this book about the value of people's tribunals is, I think, one that's made throughout a number of the chapters, and specifically made by Gabrielle in her contribution, about the validity and importance of the voices, of affirming that humble people in countries that cannot secure the action of their governments, which are often the perpetrators or involved with the perpetrators of terrible wrongs and human rights abuses and great wrongs to the environment and to the climate and in the form of nuclear weapons. They can't get action, but they have not lost their voice. They have not lost the dignity of their voice.